Moore's Law, we've all heard of it. Computing power doubles about every 2 years. It's followed that law pretty closely, but can you think of something that hasn't? In particular, in the last few years, it's actually gone down significantly. What could that be? I'll tell you, it's a text input. We started out with quills and ink, and then we figured out how to make typewriters. Things got electronic with computers, and then we went downhill with tablets. If you've tried to type an email on your tablet, you've probably had this experience. Well, turns out I know a little bit about this, and I think I can help. My name's Randy Marsden, and I've been working on text input for about 25 years. First for people with disabilities. Christopher Reeve, Muhammad Ali, thousands of other people like them who couldn't use their hands to type. One of the things that spun out of that was Swype. I'm the original inventor and co-founder of Swype. You might have heard of it. It's a leading text input method for Android phones where you just slide your finger to enter text. Over 400 million installations to date. I walk around the hall and I see people using Swype. It's awesome. Well, what we did for Swype on smartphones, we've done with Dryft on tablets. Let me show you how. This is Scott on keyboards. He's going to help us out. If we can switch over to the demo, please. This is called Dryft. Go ahead, Scott. Whoa, what's going on there? Let me explain what you're seeing. Scott's fingers were being tracked by the keyboard. As he moved his fingers, it was actually moving. Why would you want an on-screen keyboard to move? Let me explain why. When we type on a regular physical keyboard, we have the tactile feel of those keys. You can feel the little nubs on the F and J keys, put your fingers down, and you can type. How do you feel the keys on the screen of a tablet? You can't, it's glass. So we solved that by, instead of making you move your fingers to the keys, we move the keys to your fingers. And that's what's happening when Scott puts his fingers down. Second innovation. If we're tracking around with your fingers resting, how do we know when you're typing? Well, we use two sensors. We don't just use the touch sensor, but we also use the accelerometer in the device to detect when you're tapping. So right now, Scott is resting his right hand on the keyboard and tapping with his left hand. And you'll see Dryft is figuring out the difference between him resting and typing. OK, Scott, let's do something quick. Let's show these guys what Dryft can really do. Excellent. Congress, that seems to be a big topic today. Even our autocorrect is working on that. So I'm still amazed. I mean, Scott's an incredibly fast typer, but think about what you just saw. He's typing about 60, 70 words a minute on the screen of a tablet. It's never been done before, and it's amazing when you think about the productivity that's going to yield. Let's go back to the slideshow, please. So the one thing to remember from this is we're the two-sensor typing company. We fuse together the data from touch sensors and accelerometers, and that makes the magic of Dryft. So what's so important about this? I mean, is it really relevant? Aren't people happy just typing on their tablets? It turns out about 96% of us typing have built up memory typing skills. We're either touch typists or hybrid typists, we call it, where at least some of our typing is done without looking. That's who Dryft is for. We let you type naturally without looking on the screen of your tablet. I'd like to introduce you to my co-founder, Rob Chaplinsky.
Thank you, Randy. Good afternoon. I'm Rob Chaplinsky, co-founder of Dryft and also managing partner of Bridgescale. I was fortunate enough to meet Randy when I was an investor in Swype. And when Randy approached me about this great innovation we now call Dryft, I said, not only do I want to invest, but I actually want to team up with you and take this to market. We're going to pursue a licensing business model, the same business model we deployed with Swype. We're going to offer this capability on all the key operating systems. Seems to be a much simpler market now than it was 8 years ago. But also, we're going to be licensing this for application developers. So all you application developers out there, we'll have an SDK for you so you can embed a beautiful, transparent, dynamic keyboard directly in your application Here's an example. This is Handle, a runner-up of TechCrunch Disrupt New York. This is a productivity app. Here we could embed our keyboard right in their app so their customers can get a much better typing experience. We often get asked, what is the relative performance of Dryft to today's tablet keyboard? Today, we're thinking about 2x the performance, and it's still very early. We're still in its infancy. We're fine-tuning the algorithms. We think we can substantially pick that up. But that's still very disruptive, allow you to do twice the level of productivity that you're experiencing on today's tablet keyboard. So why is this disruptive? We all know tablets are going through explosive growth, and that's doing pretty good. But surprisingly, they're not really disrupting the notebook market. I see in the audience people are still typing away on their notebooks and their Airs. And why is that so? That's so because typing still sucks on tablets. We know that. I don't have to educate you on that. So we believe with Dryft, we disrupt the market substantially. Not only could we be the final nail in the notebook coffin in the enterprise, but we can substantially grow the market for tablets. But what Randy and I are really excited about is how Dryft can impact the lives of everybody. You're traveling, you're in the field, you're in education. Mr. Jobs had a real vision for tablets, and I think Dryft is an enabling ingredient to accelerate that. So thank you so much. Come visit our demo, and thank you for your time.
All right, very cool. Dryft.
Yep.
Good job.
Judges.
Can you walk us through some of the little design choices that you made? I noticed that the keys are, they're transparent, they float around on screen. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the biggest problems with on-screen keyboards is they take up half the screen. And so we really worked on how can we make it as unobtrusive as possible. And if it's tracking your fingers, you don't really need it to be that big, thick key. We just need it to be under your finger. So that leaves a lot of space in between the keys that you can see through. And it's actually 1/4 the amount of screen space than a regular on-screen keyboard. So you can see the content below it. We added semi-transparency so you can actually see through the keys. The F and the J keys are a little bit bigger, indicating these are the ones that we're following. So those are the fingers that it tracks. Those are some of the design thoughts we had.
Cool.
Yeah.
One of the things as a tablet user I've noticed is that when I'm on a larger tablet, like the original iPad, it's somewhat natural to put my fingers down and try and replicate what it feels like to tap on a laptop. But when I'm on something like these smaller minis or the phablets coming out of Samsung, I'm finding myself doing a lot more kind of hunt and peck style two-finger tapping, even though I'm a very comfortable typist. Is that something you guys have seen in your testing, and how does that affect your market?
Yeah, absolutely. Screen size makes all the difference. I mean, I invented Swype for a phone, which there's no way you can get your fingers on it. Dryft is for two hands, so it's usually for larger screens. But there is this in-between that we've been working on, which is one-handed typing, which is really cool. We don't have it to show you today, but it turns out your brain can connect what finger to type with, no matter if it was left or right hand. Your little finger types the A. So if you're one-hand typing, you just use that finger, and it also types a semicolon. So we plan to apply the Dryft technology to one-handed typing to kind of address what you're talking about.
But still use the same dynamic keyboard and the multi-touch capability. That's really what Dryft's about.
That is the accelerometer combined with the touch
Yes,
surface.
thank
And is
you.
that something that you guys are going to defend from an IP perspective?
Already defended, already issued. Yeah.
Already issued, you said?
Yes.
And I didn't follow the following of your fingers. Does that finger need to be remaining touching the screen as it drags up and down for it to follow it, or is it?
Yeah, what we did was try to simulate the real world environment. When you sit down in front of a keyboard to type, you do this set down motion. You find the home row, and then you start typing. So we said, let's simulate that action. So what you do is set all 8 fingers down on the screen. That's our indication that you want to set the location of the keyboard. And you just kind of move it till where it's comfortable, and then you lift and start typing, and it stays where it's at. It's kind of interesting, though. It stays where it's at unless you get off. If your hand sort of drifts and you start hitting next to the key, that side of the keyboard will actually catch up to your fingers. That's why we call it drift. So it dynamically, not just when you set down, but it will dynamically find your fingers as you're typing and always try to keep them under it. And we criticize autocorrect and we all laugh about it, But what we're doing is front-ending autocorrect with better input data. You know, if we can get that keyboard more accurately by your fingers, we'll give autocorrect better data. You know, it's garbage in, garbage out. So if we can give it better data in, those language models should give you better data out.
That's what I was going to ask. I was wondering if your long-term vision was including an additional autocorrect layer as a function of the metadata that you're collecting from the typist. Because I'm sure that you could build a kind of a model for each individual.
Exactly. There's all sorts of cool things you can learn about the typing style of someone. We take that accelerometer data. You tap a lot harder with your index finger than your little finger. So we can kind of learn what finger you're typing what key with. And then we can use that to help the disambiguation engines. A really good example is the words in and on. If I hit in between the I and the O, and then the N and space, no language model in existence is going to accurately guess if it was in or on. Those two words get used so many times in the same place, it's impossible to tell what you meant. Except if you hit it with your middle finger and you're a 10-finger typist, and I know you type I with your middle finger, you type O with your ring finger. So now if you hit in the middle of those two letters with your middle finger, I know you meant I. So we can really help that metadata.
Randy is one of the few experts in the world who have been working on this for 20 years. He invented text prediction 15 years ago. What's ironic about this, what excited me, is Randy, in his early days, was helping disabled people learn how to use a computer. Today, with the tablet, we're teaching people who can normally use a computer how to type as if they were disabled. And this really is what we're trying to do with a glass surface.
When can I download this? I don't know if you mentioned that, like for Android?
Yeah, it's, you know, our business model is OEM. So we will have a beta, it'll be in the new year. So we're still pretty early stage, 3 months into this. So we are collecting beta signups on our website, and it'll be in the new year. And stay tuned, we'll let
People will be able to, I know Swype, you can go on and download it independent of what the OEM ship and source,
Right,
that sort of thing.
right.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Judges, any other questions? All right, great job. That was Dryft.
Thank you very
guys
much.
very much.